Yes.
Makinig, manood, nasa teleradyo. Makinig, manood, nasa teleradyo. Teleradyo, teleradyo Marcelo. Sa gitna ng mapanubok na panahon, magkahatid sa kaakibat ay diskusyon. Sama-sama tayo, kahit magkalayo. Sa programang ito, tiyak ang pagkatuto. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo, Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo, Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo.
Hello class, today is May 12th, 2021 and welcome back to English 9 with Spam. My name is Sir Paul Anthony Mendoza and my students call me Spam. I would like to thank Ma'am Regina Malta for her help in the presentation for the layout. She makes my layout really interesting and really engaging for the students and really eye-pleasing as well. So Sir Paul will be handling your on time, on air, on screen, and on Facebook Live English 9 class for this week here on Teleradyo Marcelo, ang telearalan ng bawat Maluleño. And I do hope that you are safe and certain in this time of uncertainties where promises made for the nation has been dubbed as a simple joke. If you don't know what I mean, jokes on you, or better yet, jokes on us. Anyway, we need education now more than ever. So we'll better be fit in judging the ideas, opinions, and facts that we see online and offline. So as I've said, this is English 9 with Spam, and we would like to begin our lesson for this week. But before that, I would like to remind you about the house rules. Number 1, if you have more than one gadgets, please focus on the one that you're using to watch this video lesson. You will be needing your notebooks and your pencils or ball pen in order to take down notes that you will learn in this lesson. Number 2, please exercise respect. Every week we see comments, we see engagement on the comment section below. However, I would like to remind you to be respectful of the other students watching and learning from this broadcast. Number 3, be engaged. As I've said, you could use the comment section below. Your teachers are monitoring your comments, your questions, and your responses and taking them down in order for you to have points in your recitation or even in your other factors for your grade. Number 4, please take down notes. Again, if you don't want to take down notes on your computer or on your cell phone, a notebook and a pen will be very handy. And number 5, okay, be interactive. Be interactive. Comment as much as possible. I opened the Zoom lines for this broadcast, so my students will be popping in this Zoom recording or Zoom presentation later today to interact with everybody that is watching. And finally, learning is fun, so please enjoy learning. And whatever it is that you will learn from this lesson, please do share with the others, with your friends, with your peers, even with your families and your classmates in the past. Okay. Now, the most essential learning competency that we are targeting from week 5 to week 6 is determining the relevance and truthfulness of the ideas presented in the material viewed. Okay? In order for us to really master that most essential learning competency, we need to achieve the following objectives. Number 1, infer thoughts, feelings, and intentions in the material viewed. Number 2, share personal opinion about ideas presented in the material viewed. Number 3, judge the relevance and worth of ideas presented in the material viewed. Number 4, interpret the message conveyed in the material viewed. 5, draw generalizations and conclusions from the material viewed. Number 6, provide critical feedback to the idea presented in the material viewed. And number 7, take a stand on critical issues brought up in the material viewed. You may observe that some of the competencies that we have read is already taken last week. However, we would like to further develop these objectives in order for us to really master the most essential learning competency. So are you ready? So type in ready if you're ready and we'll begin. Let's go. All right. Now, technology, is evolving faster than ever. And we now live in the digital world. Digital technology makes it easy to stay in touch with friends, families, and even work remotely, like what we're doing now. Even if we're in another part of the world, we could easily communicate through words, messengers, videos, audio, and even exchange other media. We can also use websites, apps, and other software for us to have all the user experience that we need to socialize. Okay? As a matter of fact, in the Digital 2019 report from Hootsuite and We Are Social, showing people online behavior around the world. So this Digital 2019 report from Hootsuite and We Are Social shows how people behave online. And did you know that Filipinos spend a staggering 10 hours and 2 minutes every day on the internet in any device? That's quite much considering that we have other things to attend to, right? However, take note of that. It's 10 hours and 2 minutes per day. Okay, now who's using the internet in the Philippines? Here's a snapshot of the statistics and insights of who is using the internet in our country. The median age, according to the report, is 24 years old, or the millennials who grew up in the digital age. So these are the digital natives because they were born with the internet. Now, why do we use social media or the internet? Filipinos use it in order to stay connected with different communities. Okay? And we also use the internet to provide real information and be given real-time information to make the right choices, especially during the time of crisis. Okay? So we use apps every day. 10 hours and 2 minutes of our day is spent using the internet. What are the apps that we use? Sophia, can you turn on your mic and your camera? There you go. Which app do you really recognize from this picture and how often do you use it?
I recognize a lot of apps, sir.
Mhm.
Like Messenger, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Netflix. I recognize most of it po.
Wow, that's a lot.
And
Mhm. So which one do you use? Almost every
I
day.
use all. I use most because I spend time scrolling and scrolling. Also Netflix as my
Okay.
chill time. And Messenger for school-related stuffs and connecting with friends.
Okay. All right. So you use, like, do you monitor how much time you spend using these apps?
I used to do that po, but I got lost in control, so I removed the app
All
and
right.
thing before
Okay.
accessing the apps.
All right. So you remove it because it doesn't make sense anymore. All right. Who else would like to pop in the discussion and tell me what app do you recognize? If you want to pop in, turn on your camera and your microphone and then answer the question. Which app do you recognize and how often do you use it or how much time do you spend in using it? There you go, Alessandra.
Sure. The most app that I use almost all of the time is Spotify. As
Spotify.
in every day, sir.
Mhm.
Yes, even every night. I usually sleep with my headphones on. So
Okay. Isn't that
that's
dangerous?
I don't know,
You're not
but
sure.
it helps me calm. Yeah.
Okay, so
Because
it helps you calm.
I have a hard time sleeping po. So and
Mm-hmm.
Spotify like podcast and other music helps me sleep po during the night.
Okay. Okay, so music, podcast, that's your go-to
Yes,
app,
sir.
Spotify. All right. So we could also use TikTok, or some people use TikTok. I personally do not use TikTok. I didn't even download the app because, well, I don't get I don't get TikTok. But anyway, a lot of young people really use TikTok, and I don't blame them. It's quite entertaining, Dao, and it's fun to use the app. Okay, so we consume content, right? So we consume content whenever we open these applications. We are going to consume content that they provide, right? Like Alessandra, my favorite application is really Spotify. I use it to have my own playlists whenever I need to be motivated and I need to calm down. Okay. Spotify offers podcasts. Ayan, podcast is a great way to really consume information. There are so many reliable podcasts as source of information, and you can even have your own podcast if you want to. Like me and my friends, we have podcasts. It's called Classes Miss PH. Now, if you want to check it out because you would like to have an idea how to start your own podcast, go ahead. You could just go to Spotify. It's free. Download the app and then just look for that podcast. So we consume information in whatever app that we open, right? So the question now is, what content do you think do people consume the most? Okay. What content do people consume the most? According to eMarketer, Facebook and YouTube rule the amount of data that are consumed by people. Okay? So the leading social networks among millennials and Gen Zs is Facebook and YouTube. It is followed by Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter as the favorites. Now, television is still relevant. Okay? People still turn on their TV. However, according to the Nielsen Media, millennials are more likely to get digital news from websites and apps that provide news and current affairs. Okay? Marketing props naman said that we, millennials and Gen Zs, they turn to search engines in researching. How true is this that when you research, primarily you use your search engines like Google or Google Scholar or maybe Yahoo if you're kind of old school in order to do your research. So basically, when you have an assignment, according to this research, the primary thing or the first thing that you do is to search it in Google, right? So the sentence, I'll just Google it, and Google turned into a verb is actually an acceptable sentence now, right? So these are the facts. These are the facts. However, what I want you to recognize is this. If we spend 10 hours and 2 minutes per day on the internet, if whenever we open our application, we are bombarded with different contents, how do we know which to believe, which to accept, and which to reject? That's why our most essential learning competency is very important, because we need to know if the information that we're seeing, that we are consuming, is relevant. We need to know if that information is true. Okay? We need to know before we need to believe it, before we share it with others. Okay? Now, are you familiar with fake news? Aaron, are you still with us? There you go. Aaron, are you familiar with fake news?
Yes, sir. I
What?
am,
Yeah, what is fake news?
sir. Fake news is it type of news that is not real or just imaginary made believe some people.
So basically, it's not real. That's why it's fake, right? Now, Aaron, how often or how frequent or how seldom do you see fake news in your news feeds in your social media app?
Sir, I saw it very frequent.
You see it
So,
frequently. That means
sir,
it's okay. That means it's really there, right? What do you do?
sometimes I just narrate and get it from trusted sites. So,
Okay, so you ignore fake news. Okay, thank you, Aaron. What about Pablo? Pablo, are you still here?
Yes po, sir.
There you go. Can you turn on your camera? Did you know that Mocha Uson was summoned by the NBI over fake news in the past?
Yes po, sir. Regarding po, the location of Mayon volcano.
So that's one. That's one of
Yes
the
po.
of the false information that she what do you call this, spread, okay, online. But there are so many allegations that Miss Uson has been spreading fake news. Now for the record, fake news, according to this graph, it spreads rumors. That means it's not true. It aims to discredit real sources of information. And by doing so, it spreads lies. It incites people to believe something that isn't true. It distorts facts. It makes factual information from credible sources a sort of not true. Okay? It creates chaos by creating division between people and beliefs. And it creates confusion. Okay? So whenever we see fake news, we have to understand that we must try to validate this before sharing it with whoever. Before clicking the share button on Facebook, we need to be able to know whether this is real or not. Okay? Now, on our activity, we're going to talk about how will you shield yourself from fake news. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be playing a video twice. I'm going to play the video twice in order for you to get more and more information about the content of the video so that nobody can stop you from answering the activity that follows. Are we clear? All right, so you will need your notebook, your pen, or maybe if you have an extra laptop, go ahead and work there. What I want you to do is to draw this graphic organizer in your notebook. Okay. And then when I play the video, your task is to identify the main idea or the thesis statement of the video, identify the supporting ideas that are presented by the author or creator of the video, and then afterwards, write your own generalization about it. Again, your task is to watch the video, identify the thesis statement or the main idea, identify the supporting ideas or the details that the creator of the video included, and then write your own generalization about the video. Are you clear? So let's go ahead. Let's play this the first time.
Fake news is nothing new, but bogus stories can reach more people more quickly via social media than what good old-fashioned viral emails could accomplish in years past. A lot of these viral claims aren't news at all, but fiction, satire, and efforts to fool readers into thinking they're for real. Here are some strategies to shield yourself from fake news. Are you familiar with the source? Is it legitimate? Has it been reliable in the past? If not, you may not want to trust it. If a provocative headline drew your attention, read a little further before you decide to pass along the shocking information. Even in legitimate news stories, the headline doesn't always tell the whole story. But fake news, particularly efforts to be satirical, can include several revealing signs in the text. One fake story even attributed a quote to a dolphin. If that had been real, you could argue they buried the lead. Another telltale sign of a fake story is often the byline, if there even is one. And in some cases, the authors are not even real. One story was credited to a doctor who won 14 Peabody Awards and a handful of Pulitzer Prizes, which would be very impressive if it wasn't also totally made up. Many times these bogus stories will cite official or official-sounding sources, but once you look into it, the source doesn't back up the claim. Some false stories aren't completely fake, but rather distortions of real events. These mendacious claims can take a legitimate news story and twist what it says, or even claim that something that happened long ago is related to current events. One deceptive website took a story that was over a year old from CNN and slapped on a new, misleading headline and publication date. So on top of the deception, there was copyright infringement. Remember, there is such a thing as satire. Normally it's clearly labeled as such, and sometimes it's even funny. But it isn't the news. And then there's the more debatable forms of satire, designed to pull one over on the reader. These posts are also designed to encourage clicks and generate money for the creator through ad revenue. But they aren't news. We know this is difficult. Confirmation bias leads people to put more stock in information that confirms their beliefs and discount information that doesn't. But the next time you're automatically appalled at some social media post concerning, say, a politician you oppose, take a moment to check it out. Try this simple test. What other stories have been posted to the news website that is the source of the story that just popped up in your social media feed? You may be predisposed to believe a story about a politician you don't like, but if the alleged news site also features a story about Guardians from Antarctica retaliating against America by hitting New Zealand with an earthquake, maybe you should think twice before sharing. And yes, that earthquake story is a real example of a fake story that popped up. We know you're busy, and some of this debunking takes time, but fact-checkers get paid to do this kind of work. Between factcheck.org, Snopes.com, The Washington Post Fact Checker, and PolitiFact.com, it's likely at least one has already fact-checked the latest viral claim to pop up in your social media newsfeed. And remember, newsreaders themselves remain the first line of defense against fake news. To see more, go to factcheck.org.
All right, so that is our first time playing our video. We are going to play it again for you to finalize and complete probably the missing information that you have for your graphic organizer. Right, so I will be playing it one more time.
Fake news is nothing new, but bogus stories can reach more people more quickly via social media than what good old-fashioned viral emails could accomplish in years past. A lot of these viral claims aren't news at all, but fiction, satire, and efforts to fool readers into thinking they're for real. Here are some strategies to shield yourself from fake news. Are you familiar with the source? Is it legitimate? Has it been reliable in the past? If not, you may not want to trust it. If a provocative headline drew your attention, read a little further before you decide to pass along the shocking information. Even in legitimate news stories, the headline doesn't always tell the whole story. But fake news, particularly efforts to be satirical, can include several revealing signs in the text. One fake story even attributed a quote to a dolphin. If that had been real, you could argue they buried the lead. Another telltale sign of a fake story is often the byline, if there even is one. And in some cases, the authors are not even real. One story was credited to a doctor who won 14 Peabody Awards and a handful of Pulitzer Prizes, which would be very impressive if it wasn't also totally made up. Many times these bogus stories will cite official or official-sounding sources, but once you look into it, the source doesn't back up the claim. Some false stories aren't completely fake, but rather distortions of real events. These mendacious claims can take a legitimate news story and twist what it says, or even claim that something that happened long ago is related to current events. One deceptive website took a story that was over a year old from CNN and slapped on a new, misleading headline and publication date. So on top of the deception, there was copyright infringement. Remember, there is such a thing as satire. Normally it's clearly labeled as such, and sometimes it's even funny. But it isn't the news. And then there's the more debatable forms of satire, designed to pull one over on the reader. These posts are also designed to encourage clicks and generate money for the creator through ad revenue. But they aren't news. We know this is difficult. Confirmation bias leads people to put more stock in information that confirms their beliefs and discount information that doesn't. But the next time you're automatically appalled at some social media post concerning, say, a politician you oppose, take a moment to check it out. Try this simple test. What other stories have been posted to the news website that is the source of the story that just popped up in your social media feed? You may be predisposed to believe a story about a politician you don't like, but if the alleged news site also features a story about Guardians from Antarctica retaliating against America by hitting New Zealand with an earthquake, maybe you should think twice before sharing. And yes, that earthquake story is a real example of a fake story that popped up. We know you're busy, and some of this debunking takes time, but fact-checkers get paid to do this kind of work. Between factcheck.org, Snopes.com, the Washington Post Fact Checker, and PolitiFact.com, it's likely at least one has already fact-checked the latest viral claim to pop up in your social media newsfeed. And remember, newsreaders themselves remain the first line of defense against fake news. To see more, go to factcheck.org.
All right. Did you complete our graphic organizer? Have you identified the main idea or the thesis statement of the video? How many supporting ideas were you able to list down? And have you completed and have you written your generalization about the video and its content? Let's see. Who would like to tell me the main idea or the thesis statement of the video that you just watched? There you go, Sophia. What do you think is the main idea or thesis?
It is all about the how to shield ourselves from fake news.
All right, let's see. If your answer is close to what Sophia said or close to what will be posted on this slide, you are correct. All right, so the main idea of the video is the strategies on how to shield yourself from fake news. So now we know that that is what the video is all about. What supporting ideas or details did you find out? Right, Sophia, you're very quick to the screen.
The first one is, of course, we should check if you're familiar with the source, or is it well known for giving facts or accurate information.
Okay, so number one is consider the source. Romar, you already popped in. What other detail did you find?
Read beyond the headline. Because sometimes the headlines of different news are just involves different satire words that easily can be identified as fake news.
Right. So read beyond the headline. The headline sometimes is just there to catch your attention. Alessandra, go ahead.
Sir, I just want to add something to what Romar said.
Go
Actually,
ahead.
there was a study conducted that states that Filipinos actually usually only reads the headline. That's why we are more prone to fake news than other race, because we only read the headline, and that's what we believe it immediately.
We see the shocking headline
sir,
and then we share immediately.
Yes, sir. Without reading the whole article.
All right. So it's important to read beyond the headline. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So
Sir,
what else?
The third one is check the author.
Check
sometimes
the author.
Sometimes a news put names that are only imaginary and not real people.
Okay, check the author. Check and make sure that the author is really an authority. Class, that's the reason why authors are called authors, because they are supposedly the authority on the subject. Number 4. Sophia, you're there. Competitive, Sophia.
Check if it has supporting facts or citation. Most of the articles or reliable sources have some At the footline of the article itself, it has some citation and supporting facts to the news itself.
Okay, check the supporting details or facts. Romar, do you have the fifth one?
Check if it's a joke. Sometimes the news that are relevant is just a joke, and we can easily spot it if it is relevant enough that if something is a trend that is happening, so we can just avoid it and believe uh but not treat it as a reliable source.
Okay, so check the date then. No, so in order for you to really check the validity of an article or something online, check the date. Make sure it's appropriate, accurate, and correct. Aaron, go ahead.
We should consult experts.
I'm sorry again, Aaron. Could you repeat that?
Sir, we should consult experts.
Consult the experts. Okay, so you could consult the expert as well. I think Romer is also mentioning kanina, know if it's satirical. Okay, whether it's true or not. Okay, check whether they are really experts. So also check your bias. What can you say about that? Consult the experts is what Aaron mentioned. This is counter checking. Okay, you should be able to counter check whether what you found is really correct. What about your biases? How can a bias or your bias? This is our lesson last module, last melt. What can you say about this? Check your biases. How will this affect you from falling victim to fake news? Go ahead, Alessandra.
Sir, with bias, we have this thing. If we hate a particular person and then we saw something on the news that they did something bad, we often share it immediately to prove our point without reading the whole article or whether checking if it is a fact or is just a myth created by those people who hated the same person that hate.
Right. So confirmation bias is what the article or the video calls it. Sophia, you would like to add something to that?
As Alessandra stated, we all have our preconceived opinion or of that person. Just like the video, it stated an example that you have a dislike toward this politician and you receive this kind of news about him, and of course you're gonna believe it because it's his bad traits about him. So let's first check the site itself if it has previews articles that are not true at all.
Right. So it's so easy kasi to believe if it agrees with our preconceived idea or opinion. So let's not fall into confirmational bias. Let's counter check. Let's double check our sources. Okay. Who would like to generalize? Caleb or Chris Ray? Would you like to open your camera and tell me what generalization could be made from the video that you just saw? Or if you have a generalization, you could comment on our comment box below. Yes, Chris Ray.
Sir, we can conclude po na yung fake news po is very common. So we should shield ourselves from those fake news. There are so many ways that we can do to protect ourselves from fake news and avoid spreading the fake news to other people. In fact po kasi us readers are the first defense from fake news because if we avoid ourselves from spreading it, the fake news itself, or we check the citations, the facts, the author, all those things that are mentioned in the video, we can be the first defense po to avoid po yung pagkalat po ng fake news.
That's correct, no? We are the first line of defense against fake news. Now, if we could be able to apply all these strategies, if we know all these strategies, we will not be victims of fake news and we will not be proliferating or spreading fake news to everybody. So I hope you learned something from the video and from the answers given by your Codel Pilarians about fake news. So let us stop the spread of fake news. All right. So let's continue with our discussion. What makes an idea relevant? What makes an idea relevant? An idea is relevant if it contains information that supports the point, claim, or subject of the material. Okay. Look at the video. Go back to the video. The supporting details given for the video are all related to the point that it is trying to make. How do you shield yourself from fake news? All the supporting ideas are relevant because it's connected. It supports the claim. It supports the subject. It provides the facts, the details in order to make a stronger argument. Okay? That makes an idea relevant. If you found it on a source, on a text, or on a video online, and the claims doesn't really support the main idea or the thesis statement, do not believe it. It's irrelevant. Okay? So do not consider that point. Second question is, what makes an idea truthful? What makes an idea truthful? An idea is truthful if it is verifiable and repeatable. That means if you found an idea, an article, a video online, check whether you could confirm the assertions or the claims of the video or article from other credible sources. Okay? Remember that the ideas presented on your source must be both relevant and truthful. In this age of digital world, or Forbes magazine calls this the age of data, wherein we are given so much content to consume. It's very important to know whether our source is telling the truth. I mean, come on, if you look at the video, if you look to any site, they will claim that they are telling the truth. However, how are we going to know that that source is actually telling the truth? There are three ways on how we can do that. Firstly, primarily, is we investigate the source of information. Is that source the authority? Is that person the authority, or the organization that he or she represents? Are they the authority in terms of that information? You know, what you could do is leave that website, leave that source of information, and search for other sources. Basically, we remember, an idea becomes truthful if it's repeatable and verifiable. When we leave that website, we go to other credible website and we check whether their claims are correct and credible. That is checking. That is investigating our source of information. We also would like to check whether the organization has its own perspective, or its own biases, or its own, shall I say, angle for telling the story. What is their motive for telling the story? I check that. Okay, so these are the three ways on how we can investigate the source. Number one, check the author's professional background. The operative word here is professional. Are they qualified? Are they better equipped to speak about the topic? I mean, you know, professionals don't always know everything about the topic. Even an expert doesn't know everything about the topic. However, most likely, they will know more than a regular citizen. For example, if we would like to know something about the coronavirus, we have to listen to the experts, those who studied medicine, and medicine is their field for all their lives. If you want to know if ivermectin, or the anti-parasitic medicine, is a real cure to COVID-19, who are you going to listen to? Experts from the field of medicine? Or, you know, politicians who would like to endorse it? If you would like to learn more about climate change, are you going to listen to someone who studied that topic all his life, who has a PhD on the topic, or some random vlogger who talks about how climate change isn't really a reality. So check the author's professional background. Number two, look at the process they use to produce the information. If your source is not citing the references, is not mentioning where they got the information, most probably that is fake information. Look at news articles. They tell where they get their sources. They give the interviews, they give the references, they give the citations. Look at your research when you write your research. There's always a citation or a reference to something factual. All right? So number two is look at the process they use to produce information. And number three, verify whether they post corrections if they found some mistakes. Right? In newspapers, incredible newspapers, there's an erratum or an errata section wherein they apologize for providing inaccurate information. See, credible sources will admit that they were wrong and will correct the information presented. Okay? I always tell my students, even on Twitter when I tweet that, let's normalize changing our opinion when we are provided with new information. Let's not be hard-headed and fight for something that is not valid anymore because new information has come into the picture. Okay? So these are the three things that we could do in order to really know if our source is telling the truth. All right, now I have here an activity for you. I tried to look for some pictures on the internet, and I want you to tell me, using the facts and knowledge that you learned from the video before and from these three steps, tell me if you think this picture is accurate or not. Here we go. Tell me if it's accurate or not. First picture. This is Queen Elizabeth II delivering a message of hope amid the coronavirus pandemic, April 6, 2020. And that is her quotation or statement. Do you think this is a reliable source of information? Alessandra, there you go.
Sir, I think not, because it is not stated in the picture where the information was gathered. And secondly, if you will look at the bottom right, you will see where the photo was edited.
Okay.
So that is
Okay.
also a clue that it is an edited picture. And if you also look at Queen Elizabeth, you can see the lines where the picture was cut from.
All right. So you applied first yung check the source, investigate the source. Okay. There you go. According to the Vera files, which check false information, fake news, the original statement given by Queen Elizabeth II is that statement, which has nothing to do with the statement on the edited version. And if you will look on the picture on the original, the source is written below, inquirer.net. So there's a byline. You will know where to trace the information. All right, so Alessandra's correct. I hope you got it too. Okay, I hope you got it too. Second, by the way, to support this, Richard Gomez, or Moxeti now, who is an actor also, was one of the people, he's also mayor, no? One of the people who thought that statement is correct, no? And he shared it in his Twitter account. However, the source was validated by memebuster.net, and it shows that this is fake. Okay, this was fake, and Richard Gomez deleted the Twitter post. Let's see, second picture. This is posted on Facebook and circulated on Facebook on April 28th. The post shows that it's as if this is a memo from Makati Medical Center. According to the post, to the memo, the chief of pathology, Dr. Joey Avila, who received the second dose of Sinovac, got COVID a week after his second dose. All right. And then details were given, acquired antibody test earlier than most, etc., etc. And then Dr. Joey Avila died. We lost a good man in our front line, the best of us. It's worth knowing now that the reason for people getting infected even after taking 2 doses of corona vaccine, tapos ayan na, the details are there. The second dose daw is to be taken 21 to 28 days. All right. And then it's as if this is an information that is accurate, a medical information or medical bulletin. Make sure to wear a mask, get out of the house only if it's necessary. So by reading this medical bulletin or somewhat a memo, do you think this is a credible source of information? Isa, there you go. Sabella, go ahead.
It's not a credible source po.
Why not?
First of all po, it's a random Facebook post at wala pong author po yung source.
Okay, it's a random Facebook post. What about the medical term? You know, some of, like, make sure to wear mask. We know that this is true.
Parang ang staple na po na sabihin ng fake, mga nag-ano po ng fake news.
Again, what, Isabella? It's what?
It's very na po
Very common. To what?
to say those things po.
Okay.
To
So
make
are you
more
saying,
kapanipaniwala.
are you saying, Isabella, that even if some of the information are correct or true, that doesn't mean that the entire article or source
Yes.
is accurate? Okay. Okay. So correct. Thank you, Isabella. Yan. So not because some of the information presented are true doesn't mean the entire article is true. Here's the fact. Makati Medical Center denied releasing that list. Okay. The hospital also said that the advisory contained inaccurate information. All right. Next picture. What about this one? In-announce na. That's the post. And then the comment will be from the same author. Only nanood ng balita know this. There's a law that says girls aren't allowed to have relationship with someone if she's below 18 to prevent teenage pregnancy. Right. So there's your chances to having a boyfriend before 18. Do you think this is true? Sophia?
It's not true, sir. It's definitely a fake news.
Why? Because you want to have a boyfriend before 18?
No, sir. No, sir. As you can see, sir, the author, it doesn't present any sources from where this person or the person who posted where the news came from.
Mm-hmm.
There are no facts to support the announcement that he or she made.
Okay. Also, he is the author.
The author
isn't the authority, right? In terms of
yes,
the topic.
Yes, po.
Okay. And also, would you want to have a boyfriend before 18?
No, sir.
No, all right. I was just clarifying. All right. So according to the Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Law, there's no law preventing teenage pregnancy that prohibits women under 18 to be in relationship in the Philippines. So the law, Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Law, which the post says na napanood niya, quote unquote, sa balita, doesn't really say that. Okay? So this is fake news and a lot of people reacted on it. Like, look at the shares. It's 26,000 shares. Right? So that isn't really a good reflection of our netizens' ability to identify fake news or fake unreliable posts. Let's look at this next, last photo for this activity. This is Mayor Belmonte in Philippines trending news that says just in, Angel Locsin makukulong. Mayor Joy Belmonte tiniyak na pagbabayaran ni Angel ang nangyari. And then in Showbiz Fanatics, it says just in, and with the same headline. There's 3,700 likes about this post. What do you think? Chris Ray, go ahead.
Sir, first of all po, yung title po ng page, there's a typo po. Makikita po natin,
Which
Philippines
one?
trending.
Trending.
Yung
Alright.
with H po, hindi po G. So, obviously po, sir, it's fake news po. Yung the source po is very, is not reliable po, sir.
Alright. It's not reliable even, no? Even the spelling. If the spelling is incorrect, what about the content? What does it say about the content pa nga, no? What about in Showbiz Fanatics? Chris Ray with a Z.
Sir, first, yung Fanatics po, sir, it doesn't make sense po kasi na lagyan po nila ng Z sa dulo.
With the Z.
I guess po yung check mark po, check mark po sa tabi po ng Z is edited po, or they just put the check mark po to pretend that they are reliable po and their contents are valid po, sir.
That's a good point, no? The check mark means it's verified. So for those of you who don't know, if you have a check mark in your name on the social media, that means you are verified by the social media. So if you have an account on Facebook and you have a blue check mark, that means you're verified. That means you're the real account. Okay. Yeah. Probably I will not have that check mark ever. But anyway. Also, this claim is false according to the fact checked. Mayor Belmonte was interviewed in The Chief, and she said that Angel Locsin isn't really the one at fault for what happened at the community pantry. Although she failed to coordinate, but it was not her fault. Alessandra, you raised your hand.
Yes, sir. There's also one more thing that I'd like to point out.
In
both headlines, it said just in. However, if you look at the first article, it was posted on April 26. However, the other one was posted on April 25. So it's a misconnection between the two headlines.
Okay, yeah, right. And the saddening thing is that the one on the right already reached 154,000 views, right? So that's disconcerting to know. All right. So anyway, congratulations if you were able to identify and apply the knowledge that you learned from our previous part of the lesson in identifying which are credible source of information and how to check whether something is real or not. Okay, so how do you know if your source is telling the truth? Again, check the author's professional background. Look at the process they use to produce the information and verify whether they post corrections. Also, use your common sense before viewing or sharing. Like what some of my students already mentioned, these are very obvious, right? Very obvious or telltale signs that the source is not credible. Okay, now for the application, it seems that you really learned the topic that we have for the lesson. For the application or your evidence of learning, what you're going to do is you're going to create a concept map about the video that you are about to see. Make sure that you take down important and correct information given by the video. And you can use any format you want, or maybe the given format that you will see on the next slide. Again, you're going to create a concept map about the information given on the video. You can use any concept map that you would like to use, or maybe you could use this graphic organizer in writing your concept map. All right. Okay, now here's the video that you are going to watch. for your application or your evidence of learning. If you want to play the video once more, you could always just follow Marcelo H. Pilar National High School on YouTube, and then you could play this broadcast for this lesson over and over again. So here's the video.
In 1796, the scientist Edward Jenner injected material from a cowpox virus into an 8-year-old boy, with a hunch that this would provide the protection needed to save people from deadly outbreaks of the related smallpox virus. It was a success. The 8-year-old was inoculated against the disease, and this became the first ever vaccine. But why did it work? To understand how vaccines function, we need to know how the immune system defends us against contagious diseases in the first place. When foreign microbes invade us, the immune system triggers a series of responses in an attempt to identify and remove them from our bodies. The signs that this immune response is working are the coughing, sneezing, inflammation, and fever we experience, which work to trap, deter, and rid the body of threatening things like bacteria. These innate immune responses also trigger our second line of defense, called adaptive immunity. Special cells called B cells and T cells are recruited to fight microbes and also record information about them, creating a memory of what the invaders look like and how best to fight them. This know-how becomes handy if the same pathogen invades the body again. But despite this smart response, there's still a risk involved. The body takes time to learn how to respond to pathogens and to build up these defenses. And even then, if a body is too weak or young to fight back when it's invaded, it might face very serious risk if the pathogen is particularly severe. But what if we could prepare the body's immune response, readying it before someone even got ill? This is where vaccines come in. Using the same principles that the body uses to defend itself, scientists use vaccines to trigger the body's adaptive immune system without exposing humans to the full-strength disease. This has resulted in many vaccines, which each work uniquely, separated into many different types. First, we have live attenuated vaccines. These are made of the pathogen itself, but a much weaker and tamer version. Next, we have inactive vaccines, in which the pathogens have been killed. The weakening and inactivation in both types of vaccine ensures that pathogens don't develop into the full-blown disease. But just like a disease, they trigger an immune response, teaching the body to recognize an attack by making a profile of pathogens in preparation. The downside is that live attenuated vaccines can be difficult to make, and because they're live and quite powerful, people with weaker immune systems can't have them, while inactive vaccines don't create long-lasting immunity. Another type, the subunit vaccine, is only made from one part of the pathogen, called an antigen, the ingredient that actually triggers the immune response. By even further isolating specific components of antigens, like proteins or polysaccharides, these vaccines can prompt specific responses. Scientists are now building a whole new range of vaccines called DNA vaccines. For this variety, they isolate the very genes that make the specific antigens the body needs to trigger its immune response to specific pathogens. When injected into the human body, those genes instruct cells in the body to make the antigens. This causes a stronger immune response and prepares the body for any future threats. And because the vaccine only includes specific genetic material, it doesn't contain any other ingredients from the rest of the pathogen that could develop into the disease and harm the patient. If these vaccines become a success, we might be able to build more effective treatments for invasive pathogens in years to come. Just like Edward Jenner's amazing discovery spurred on modern medicine all those decades ago, continuing the development of vaccines might even allow us to treat diseases like HIV, malaria, or Ebola one day.
There you go. That's a very informative video about vaccines, and it's really needed now that there's a lot of campaign, right, about the dangers now of being inoculated or vaccinated. Now, again, before we share sources, articles about something, let's remember the lesson that we have today. Let's check our sources. I hope you learned something really interesting and worthwhile in this 1 hour-ish English 9 with me, Spam, as well as my students here on Teleradio. So these are the students that have been with me for this broadcast: Sophia Cassandra, Alessandra Faith, Romar, Isa, and we have Chris Ray and Aaron there for this broadcast of Teleradio. On behalf of the English department, I am Sir Paul Anthony B. Mendoza, Master Teacher 2, and your teacher broadcaster for this week of English 9 with Spam. On behalf of our department head, Ma'am Purificacion D. Pagiligan, and our principal, Maria Victoria C. Vibo, EDD, I thank you. Stay safe. Remember, think before you click. This is Spam for Teleradio Marcelo, ang telearalan ng bawat Del Pilarian. See you soon. Goodbye.
Makinig, manood, nasa teleradyo. Makinig, manood, nasa teleradyo. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo. Sa gitna ng mapanubok na panahon, magkahatid sa kakibat ay diskusyon. Sama-sama tayo, kahit magkalayo. Sa programang ito, tiyak ang pagkatuto. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo.